Most founders think momentum is about doing more. But real momentum begins with the moment you stop mistaking chaos for progress and start leading from what actually creating sustainability that's viable, and that's how you can start scaling your companies. Welcome to Provider's Edge, the podcast that helps healthcare entrepreneurs and innovators break down barriers and control their business, life, and future with valuable action steps. With me, your host, Sabrina Runbeck, a recovered clinician and a business deal catalyst. Let's rewrite the rules and create a positive social impact while increasing your profitability. So today we wanted to discuss what are some of the patterns we keep hearing from all of our clients, from probably you start doing all your sales calls, start hearing the same pattern. What does that really break down into and translate it into the things that we can actually help them to move forward instead of becoming this objection that we don't know what to do with? At the end of the day, it's about turning the startup whirlwind into sustainable wins. All right. So excited for some of our amazing advisors here with us. Lorca, how are you? And Shauna, we would love for you to quickly introduce yourself.
I'm Lorca Smetana, and I am doing resilient leadership development.
Yes, I'm Shauna Smith, and I help build aligned teams.
Sabrina Runbeck here is about turning your vision into a reality that is matching your resources. All right. So Shauna, tell us, what is one of the pattern you've been seeing lately?
So one of the things that I see a lot, especially in my work, which is dealing with alignment and clarity and high level vision and strategy, is this chronic busyness as a protective mechanism against the real growth risk that they're experiencing. So this looks like overscheduling themselves, especially not honoring their time. So their calls are going over the time that they've allotted for them. They're over delivering. They're chasing visibility. Where else do they need to show up to be seen? Maybe if they meet a new person, the next new person might be that huge breakthrough. These are all actually avoidance patterns, and it shows up a lot on our calendars when we're trying to help people with like their rescheduling. They keep canceling, they get sick, it's not the right time. They have to take care of these other things first. They just have so much going on that they don't have the time to stop and to really get clear. And so it's important to remember that this pattern happens when you're still focused on their brain and what they're thinking and what's going on in their mind, instead of helping them and connecting into their body. So they're hearing what you're saying and they'll repeat back to you, that sounds really great. They might have this enthusiasm, but then they don't move. They don't take action. They don't buy. They don't take that next step forward in solving this actual problem. And so in this circumstance, it's important to know that you're speaking to the logic while the nervous system is screaming, not yet. We can't move forward in that direction. That's not safe. So deeper down, there's an alignment issue between what they say that they want and whether or not that's a safe reality for them. And so while they might look like they have it all together, they might look like they have a lot of traction, they're busy, they're growing, they have all these people they need to talk to, all these meetings that they're in. But really, this is the lie of high functioning dysfunction. And that is the road to burnout. And if you're really wanting to get underneath this issue and connect to help these founders really focus in on the important issue in front of them, you need to call it out. You need to just be that voice of guidance and reminder, is it possible that there's a deeper issue here that you're avoiding, and really speak to maybe more of what their body and their nervous system is experiencing. How much longer do you think you can run at the pace that you're at? What are your solutions that you're looking towards? What projects are on your schedule that are helping you get out of this reactive state that you're in, right? Like try to find that source of how are they planning to get out of this pattern? Because this high functioning dysfunction, we know, especially in the healthcare space, it leads to health problems. It leads to your body collapsing. That's why they're getting sick before your calls and things like that. So what are you doing to build actual traction and get out of the chaos?
Yeah, we definitely seen that, as many of us are very known to attend events. New York Tech Week, Chicago, Dallas, San Francisco, Vegas. There seems to be, if you want to go somewhere, there's always the event every month, every week. And the traction of these events is, wow, I'm meeting so many people. And what I also seen is people play the numbers game of volume, and they think higher volume is going to get them somewhere, instead of the quality of conversation is going to make a difference. And to figure out the quality of conversation, I was just on a women VC panel yesterday talking about this, is that you have to find the people who have these high quality connections so they can filter things out for you, and you talk to the right people and share the right message for that conversion to happen. And yes, it might seem to be a little bit more work up front, but then you're helping the true alignment of always being busy, of doing all those things. You're never home. And that's where our body, our physical body start getting into that turmoil, right? And so that busyness of like, yay, this is exciting. Yeah, I'm meeting all these people, having all this conversation. People are really interested in me. If those interests does not convert into, let's have a conversation about signing that contract, then interest is not a true partnership. And they are just being polite most of the time. And so how do we think about those things and having a preemptive mantra, right, for ourselves, and to shift those belief systems and reformatting of seeing a safe play to finding out the root cause instead of the surface. Let me just be busy so that I am so chaotic inside, but then we're hiding what other people couldn't see, right? And we're almost like distracting them from what else is going on that causing us to constantly be in the motion and instead of result driven. Lorca, what's your take on this?
Yeah, this is something that I think it's really useful to look at yourself with compassion as a leader on this, and just to recognize that, one, you're not alone. Two, that this is painful and you're not weird for struggling. And that three, that we are simultaneously being trained for this, and that it is reflexive, that it's reactive, and that it actually takes conscious and intentional effort to build in ourselves that capacity to be to slow down when we need to recover when we need to rest, and to have the spaciousness to make decisions that are really have a lot of wisdom in them. Even if it's possible to make wise decisions that happen at high speed, but you have to build the skills and the capacity for it. You have to design for it.
So well said. All right, so let's I'll give an example. One of the patterns I hear is that, oh, let me just fix this on my own. Let me get to some of the foundation stuff before you can take us to the next level. And that waiting game, right, before the right moment, I think all of us all have heard from client or someone telling us, let's just wait at some point. Right. And then I would love for everyone to have like a little reality check. Have you ever said that to someone? Like, I'm just going to wait. And what they're actually not saying is that I'm waiting because I don't want you to see the mess that I'm making. Oh, you're showing me a whole game plan. Oh, that makes so much sense. But oh, yeah, I see all my holes now. So I kind of don't want you to see all the holes. So they're not thinking about, oh, actually, I want you to plug the holes. I don't want to be in that scale of like always tumbling, right? So I'm saying it's like people, you're trying to run when you can barely walk. So then when you're running, it's like you're skipping, right? And then so your body is not really set to just skip and you're getting tired even more. And so when that feels like they're saying not ready or not yet, what that really means is I'm scared. I'm scared about losing the credibility, I'm supposed to be really put together. I am a lot of founders, right? And people in our ecosystem. Yeah, I already exited a couple companies. I have all these great conversations going, but there's always a but, and they don't want us to really see what the but is coming from. So I think it's the scarcity of, it's not so much about I'm not ready. It's actually, I'm just not sure what to do. It's that letting go of control. Or it's like trying to fix the foundation without the true external mirroring of what that model looks like while you're living in it. Right. So some perhaps reframing from this is, instead of feeling like you're giving them the whole solution, they're probably not ready for that yet. We have to meet them where they are. So really be able to ask a lot more questions. What is it that you want right now? This isn't about stepping into that final thing, right? Final stage of growth. Everything is a process. So it's about getting the place where you can just stop and build it right. And doesn't feel like, oh, every quarter I needed to scrap my plan and rebuild it. Right. And then it doesn't feel burden anymore. Right. You feel smoother. It's not waiting for the readiness. It's whatever resource you have right now. How about we make that easy for you? And how can we meet you at where you are? And so everybody is talking the same way. We're not asking 10 different questions, really trying to solve one problem. We're actually all talking together and not in the silo. So I'm curious, Shauna, what's your take on the pattern of, let me just wait a while. Let me fix this before I get help?
Well, I have to admit, I'm super guilty of this one. So I know that like being on both sides of it, because I see other people do it. And when I'm doing it, part of that is you might know the steps that need to happen to get to that place where, oh, if I just organize this better, then I can turn it over to someone. Right. And part of that really comes back to a core wounding that most visionaries have, which is this fear of being misunderstood. You've been misunderstood pretty much your whole life because you've always thought outside of the box. That's why you're creating something nobody else has. And so in these moments, you're like, oh no, I have to have such clear instructions if I'm going to hand this mess over. So it is a little bit of trust, and it is definitely control and perfectionism to say, you know what, sometimes the other person has the better vantage point because that's their zone of genius and you have to trust and hand it over.
Yeah, Lorca, what do you think about this?
I was thinking about how it could be really interesting at this, once you recognize the pattern, even before, actually preemptively, you could do this and consult the project as if it were a person, like someone who is just growing, and just ask the project, like, what would you really love right now? Right? Where would you love support? Do you want do you want to wait and have help later? And I think that voice of waiting is coming from inside us, right? Inside the founder, inside the human that we are. But if we consult, if we say, okay, what would the project love right now? How would it get to develop beautifully and fast? And the project doesn't mind being messy. That's us. And so I think, and recognizing that we're in service of helping this thing shine, and letting the needs of the project, in the same way that we might let the needs of a child or the needs of a garden be a louder voice than our own.
Yeah. And I think one of the mantra that we wanted to say is, you don't need more time. You need a container that's strong enough to hold your vision and hold you accountable without feeling the shame. And that's truly what we're here for as advisor boards who are at every single step. So then we can help you to find a blind spot and fill it without feeling like, oh, you're seeing this other side of me. There's so many different dimensions of us, and then we should honor those dimensions and not to feel like we have to already know it all. And if we already know it all, I'm sure all the business can be built successfully without seeing the typical only 10% survive the first year, right? So it's not like we're trying to be saints here. We're trying to stay in the connection of, when we're thinking about this ecosystem, right? We always talk about what sustainability means. So you have to have your core ecosystem of your business, but then we also wanted to make sure you have your personal ecosystem, right? Those people who support you every day at home, your sleep pattern, your own doctors, your own wellness coach, right? I go to infrared sauna to work out. And then your family's ecosystem, right? Their dreams, besides this legacy you're building, how are they cohesively supporting? And for most of you, probably you're like, I'll wait on the family, right? Another waiting game. And then you have your other mentor ecosystem, right? Like people like us, people who are already on your board. And then lastly is, but not least, your partnership ecosystem. How are those other people who believe in what you're doing and can come together and do something more amazing together, right? So it's not so much a fractionalized, oh, I can't, don't spill the dirty water outside, right? Some culture-wise, the same thing is that you keep whatever you have going on inside your home roof. It doesn't have to be that way. All right, Lorca, what's one of the patterns you've been seeing?
There's one that really shows up for me and that intrigues me a lot, which is that, a lot of us going through projects like this, and in cultures and corporate cultures like this, that there is a really strong impression that this is a not only high speed and very full, because as Shauna was talking about, but that there's a lot of really quick turnaround and there's a lot of emergencies. And that it's a constant effort to meet the next emergency, to predict the next emergency, to be prepped and ready all the time before it arrives. And I like to propose that it's possible that this is actually not true. And one of the reasons I think it might not be true is that, yes, there is urgency and things are moving very quickly. But I also think that in a very large number of us, that we have been internally have a nervous system that's trained to thrive in the face of emergency. That emergency gives us a sense of meaningfulness, that it gives us a sense of gratification because we're the solvers. It makes us feel that we must be really effective if we can handle things and solve them on the fly. And yet I also believe that we are powerful enough people and personalities that we can actually start to design them in and generate, be emergency generators. That we can surround ourselves with people who foster more emergencies, right? They could be amazing in one thing, but they thrive on drama, perhaps. Or they are brilliant, but they wait till the last minute. And so we are then at that point actually designing in a culture of emergency. And this is true for large emergencies. It's also true for little emergencies, but little emergencies cost. Um, and so starting to get first really curious about, like, is this me, right? If this were true with me, what would be the evidence that exists for that, right? Where is there the possibility that I am addicted to urgency, that I get high off of chaos? And do I have the capacity even to be one or the other? Or do I only have one speed and one way of working? So when I run into people who are delaying or postponing, or I really like to listen to what is showing up when they talk about why they can't do the next thing. And this is not necessarily an issue of what's going on in the field. It can very much be a leadership identity that's really rooted in emergency response and not rooted in having a resilient architecture that we have the capacity to start building within ourselves at any one point, right? It's not an instant thing because our nervous system is hijacking the process, and it drags us right back into this beautiful burn, the fire that's burning, that's so beautiful, it's so exciting. But to start a conversation about how we can start to begin to trust stillness in our own bodies, that we can trust peace, we can trust having buffer zones and having spaciousness and building in transition time, and inviting our nervous system to really start entering into this conversation with us is a fascinating one for me. And I think that when we do this, the results start to pay off really beautifully in a way that I really like. So, having conversations, how to I mean, it's an interesting question. How do you start bringing someone into this possibility that they're doing this? But I think it's really a worthwhile way to go.
Shauna, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I love those thoughts, Lorca, and they're such great insights. And I know also the core element that stands out from that cycle in me, and as I've seen the people going through it, is, like you're saying, it's attached to their identity. It's a proving wound. I have to prove my value. I have to prove I've done enough, and that I can hack it, that I work hard, that, I've earned love, I've earned value. And so that's where, it comes down to that deeper work of really separating your identity from the project. And I love that exercise you had of ask the project what it needs. And ask the project if this is an emergency. And I also find that the majority of emergencies that I've seen in the companies that I've worked with are emotional, in which case, what kind of frameworks, like you're saying, work with resilience, can be brought in to manage this. Emotional self-management is a big part of what I try to input into company cultures, because if we could just manage our own emotions for a moment, there would be far fewer emergencies. There would be far fewer fires. It's that passion that just lights everything on fire. It has to be done right now. The clients are mad. This isn't working. I'm going to look like a failure, Oh, okay, what's the feeling behind that? And that's really, a lot of those things start in another place, but it comes back to your identity being all wrapped up in this project, in your role, in what you're doing or not doing. And those are stories. And if we silence those, a lot of the flames go away.
Yeah, it's holding yourself accountable in a way to say, I'm not just here just to break my plans every week, right? It's why did I spend all this time to create the plan if I'm not going to keep up with it. So even for all the clients we engage with, we haven't signed an executive commitment pledge. Your pledge to create space in the process. Your pledge to have an open dialogue when things are not going your way or you don't feel like it's going to work out for you. You are pledging to allow your team to have space to think. And I believe one of the exercise we were talking about from even larger company is, can you allow all your employees just to work on anything that they want to work on for 4 hours? And then that's where people start become even more creative instead of limit themselves in the job role they're doing. And so give them the space to not just constantly about, oh, this email come up, but I need to respond. Oh, someone asked me a question. I really needed to figure things out, right? Then doesn't matter you use the time block strategy. If you're not getting to that time block to do the things you have to do, and because the excuse is, I have this other deadline. I have another fire I need to put out. And then we're always spinning our own tails. So can we start naming the fire? And as Lorca calls it, like, let's just ask the project, right? Like, is this fire really a fire? Do you really need me to fan the more fire into you? Or you can cool down a bit, right? Like, what do we really want out of this, right? And same thing when we work with our assistant. Sometimes we can feel like, how did you not respond to this, right? But if they didn't really have a conceptualization of what the priority urgency is, of course they're not responding, right? That's not in our nature default. So how can we help other people to readjust whether it's a true emergency or it's not, and also help ourselves to readjust so we can let go some of that control of feeling always reactive instead of being proactive. Are any last minute tools, resources that you guys like to share for our listeners?
I think that it's, given who we're speaking to here, I think it is really worth looking at not only taking a look at ourselves, like, am I doing this? Is this pattern showing up for me? Is there evidence, right? And being willing to be kind of playful and curious enough that we can entertain uncomfortable evidence that might show up, right? Like, oh, you know what? Over here, I'm very calm, but over here, there seems to be repeated incidents, and that might be about me, right? And if it were about me, what's going on? So to take that out one more level, I think it's really worth not only looking at ourselves, but looking at our organization. Where are we designing in this kind of thing so that it is predictable, so that it is going to be handed down, even if we replace certain humans, right? What is the culture that we're building up? Is it a culture that glorifies any of these things, right? That glorifies being quick off the draw and having emergencies, or being super busy and full? Or are we designing in space? Are we designing in adjustment time? Are we designing in inner capacity to stay with an idea or a project long enough to have a real grasp of what it actually is, instead of just responding before we even know what's going on? And I think the organizations that do that, it can be uncomfortable because of all the reasons we've talked about, with the fact that our own nervous systems, as well as our cultures, are not this. And at the same time, cultures and communities and humans who are able to move down this path, I think will experience something that shows up as really magical, both in terms of experience and in terms of impact in the world.
Amazing. Thank you, ladies, so much for sharing. And for all of us, this is a good time to reflect. And we are very frustrated when our clients are saying this to us. And at the same time, we have to do an energetic check-in with ourselves. Am I behaving this way? Is it because I'm thinking this way? I'm already in that zone. And that's why we're attracting more of the same. Or in a sense of we're recognizing more so we can see the other people's pattern because we're already doing it. right? So it's never really about shameful to recognize. It's actually about clarity. Now I know it. I can do something about it. I can find the right people. I can have a deeper reflection. I can figure out how come I'm saying I need to build a sales team, but 3 months later, I'm still saying I need to build it. There's no movement, right? Perhaps you're moving so fast, your leadership capacity is way exceeding what you need it to be. So that plan or that goal is not really the urgent goal that you thought you need. Or perhaps that really is that goal, but so many have shifted and you got a little bit of chaotic, you got a lot of movements, but it hasn't helped you to translate yet. So how can we come back to that more equilibrium of self to get you back to less just always on? And when you're always on, you tend to get more sick. And when you tend to get more sick, you're not enjoying it, right? The lights start dimmer instead of we really wanted to drive us the heat of the, what we call like we only want to work in with the blazing hot people, right? That we're just so excited about. So how can we continue to stay up in that fire and the drive without feeling the burn is actually, pulling the rug underneath our own feet? All right. We appreciate everyone who's listening in. Love to hear from your perspective wherever you're watching this, listening. Comment below. Let us hear from you. Or you rather wanted to have a private call, go to postpointpass.com/chat. Let's see how we can rapidly scale your success. Until next time. Bye, guys.
So Shauna, Lorca, and myself talked about a lot of points for founders, and as well as for anybody who are investors listening, we all encounter the same thing when we're trying to support founders to grow. So number one point is chronic busyness is not the same as true progress. Many founders confuse constant motion and packed calendar with momentum. But this quote-unquote high-functioning dysfunction often masks emotional avoidance and decision paralysis. Number two, the nervous system screams while the logic nods. Logical conversations may sound promising, but unless the nervous system feels safe, action stalls. Founders must regulate internally before real progress can happen externally. Number three, the lie of, quote, waiting until I'm ready. Delaying strategic support because I want to fix it first is often rooted in fear of being exposed. Not from lack of readiness, but fear of judgment and loss of control. Number four, addiction to urgency and chaos. Founders who identify as high performers might unknowingly design cultures of constant emergency to validate their sense of usefulness and speed. Because everything is a deadline, so you better do it. And when it's not a deadline, then it seems like you have 10 other things you need to do. But urgency can become an unhealthy identity loop. Number five, sustainable success requires personal ecosystem design. You need more than a great go-to-market strategy. You need the right people in your business, family, wellness, and mentor ecosystem. Without all of them, this 5-dimensional ecosystem, even high achievers burned out. Number six, build cultures that value spaciousness. Founders who embed space for thought, recovery, and alignment in their system, not just goals. Create cultures that can withstand scale without breaking under pressure. So love to hear from you. What's one area in your business where you're mistaking chaos for traction? Or answer this. If your startups could speak, what would it say it really need from you today?
Thank you for tuning in to Provider's Edge podcast. We hope you enjoy our latest episode and found the insights and tips helpful. We'd love to hear your feedback on the show and learn what topics you'd like us to cover in the future. So please take a moment to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform and let us know what you think. Your feedback is essential to help us improve the show and provide you with the content you need to take your healthcare business to the next level. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.